synthetic shot. It's a lot of complex volumetric pieces to make it look realistic. We went out to Wisconsin, in fact. We shot a bunch of really cool stuff with these incredibly brave and slightly nutty guys, and then we just replaced everything in the background. This shot, yes. This shot was one of the hardest to achieve. Obviously, we have to replace everything in the background, and the hardest thing to achieve here is this realistic gas simulation and rendering thereof. It's overcranked to 120 frames a second, so it's really pull your pants down stuff. You're completely exposed, and you know, visual effects is about suspense of belief, and you get to study this, and if you lose that, you've lost everything, and hopefully you believe in this fire and smoke, because none of it's real. It's just to prove that not all shots were the real Birdmen. I mean, don't get me wrong, these Birdmen were, as I said, brilliant and brave and nutty, and you had to do this to make it feel realistic. As much as they wanted like to put themselves into danger, we put them into even more pseudo-danger with visual effects. There's a nice harmony of real bravado, stunt, specialized people, and computer graphics as well to make it that much more ridiculous. I love these Birdmen. They're brilliant. They're a great bunch of guys, incredibly talented. They're slightly nuts. They're very professional, which is, you know, while they're still around. They did incredible work, and they made it real because it was real. But we also did a few shots where we helped out. So a shot like this, we needed to have synthetic Birdmen. So these are not real. It's an example of them not being real because, you know, the guy gets hit. We don't want to hurt anyone. That would be silly. I just think it's a really good marriage of the two, where you've got the real guys that just pull you in. All right, now I believe it. That could not be anything but real. And then you can do shots like this, where we're in a helicopter in LaSalle shooting plates, which we then change the speed, and we had to change the background, but the Birdmen are fully synthetic, and hopefully you can't tell the difference between the two different shots for both of our sakes. Well, you've got a tiny piece of set, but all intents and purposes, most of the shot becomes synthetic. Same with this shot. It's a great move, but of course at the end of the day, you've got to replace nearly all of it.
It's always a little bit of magic and illusion where we're using parts of real building. This is a recreation of the real building. It's mix and match all the time. So that the part of this aerial as you fly in starts real, but because where I flew the aircraft didn't quite fit the line of flight that we'd want later. So we refabricate the background because we've recorded every single one of those buildings at 6 times during the day so we could do all that replacement.
It's one of my favorite shots, actually, this tense moment inside the tilted building. Clearly, everything in the background is replaced, and you know, the big bad guy rolls into frame. But what I like most is right at the beginning when you see the glass shuddering. You don't see it in what I'm looking at right now, but you just see the glass shuddering as he comes through, and then you get that scary moment of the robot itself. This is all about eyeline and reaction, so that Carly is very scared here as this gun's supposedly coming around the corner. So we've got a little blue hole that she's reacting to that gets removed, but then we then obviously stick in a big nasty robot to make it feel a little bit more dangerous than a blue pole. She always makes me laugh. It seems like he's scared of rolling chairs. Yeah, Mike was pretty unimpressed with our first blocking. He's like, what is this? You gotta make him feel menacing and threatening and powerful, and yet these guys get away, so.
This is the tilted building sequence where we shot on a platform that was about 100 feet long by 50 feet long that John Fraser rigged up a big hydraulic rig so that this massive steel structure could be elevated up and down from level to 30 degrees, and it would be redressed as needed, whether it was an interior of the building or an exterior of glass slide. This is our friendly driller character, Colossus. Shockwave drives him. This is his little puppy dog, 150 feet long. Huge, huge, complicated character in terms of how many pieces, something like 70,000 parts to this guy, and took forever to render him because, why? He's shiny, he reflects everything. And the sequence here where Colossus starts drilling into the building and helping it to collapse and going after our hero characters. Some of the exterior shots are, I think the longest render on the last picture was for our character Devastator. He was composed of all these earth mover equipment pieces. And that was about 36 hours of a frame. All right, Driller, who's reflective, and the building, which is like a mirror reflection. It copies a true building, a real building on Wacker Boulevard in Chicago. We went from 36 hours per frame to 288 hours per frame for one eye, because it's stereo. So then if all went well, and it didn't, it would choke sometimes. You'd get partway along in the render. The render means you're processing the image. And it would choke and we have to start over again. This was so big that I think for the first time in ILM's history, here at the Presidio, Transformers 3 had to take over the entire render farm on one weekend in particular. That has never happened, where all the other shows had to just kind of step back, wait for the renders to go through on the weekend so we could, otherwise we couldn't get this movie done. There was no way. So it's pretty colossal. It's crazy how complicated these things get. But you know, you may wonder, why does it take so long? Well, we use a thing called Mental Ray. Mental Ray is a fantastic software program that allows you to see true reflections of an environment. But if you have one piece of glass, what's happening is it's tracing each and every light wave, what the image is. If the light hits that, where does it go and what's the bounce angle? So it calculates in actual mathematics what all these refracting and reflecting angles of light bounce is. And that's what makes it look real, because that's true physics. But it's a heck of a lot of rendering. Basic rendering is the computer following your commands that you launch. And so it's terribly complicated, but that's where we are in this day and age, because we know the movie-going public wants to see it look as real as possible, and that's the only way we can do it right now. Colossus, or Driller as we call him, or Big Worm Guy, he's tearing through the building, and you can see here it's not just building the building, it's all the interaction, all the small pieces of glass breaking, beams that are bending and breaking, pyro events are going off. We probably 50 to 60 people touch just this one shot where the building falls down, hits the other building. The other building's real, in a real plate, but where it gets crunched, we replace it. So this is a real aerial that I shot. We start there, and then all the tilted building is actually from 155 Wacker, a different location entirely. So we've transplanted a real building into this spot for it to fall down. In fact, it falls down in about 3 different locations if people from Chicago were to pay attention to this. And but it's all about, well, you know, you look north, that's not a cool background. We're going to change it. So that's what we do. It's all about, okay, is that a more interesting background? And that sort of thing. And then you've got to put all these different levels of of simulations, we call them. A simulation just is a broad term for any sparks or fire or hard body simulations. It might be the blocks, it might be the steel, the breaking glass. And we've got experts in all these different categories that work on these shots. We've got one that does the best flame and smoke you've ever seen with this new software that we've called Plume. And there's this woman and her husband that both do simulations. It's Greg and Laura Killmaster. I love the last name. And Laura is new to the game. She hadn't done this, but she started just a few years ago. She's one of my favorites because she can come in, like she did the Megatron ripping his head out of his, with his backbone trailing out and everything, with all the little stuff burbling out of his back. You know, if you want it done right, you get Laura in on that job. You think women are not gonna like death and destruction? They love it. They love doing it. She has the biggest kick doing these things. Visual effects is the glue that puts the whole movie together. Well, what are visual effects these days? Visual effects represent all the things that really you're not gonna shoot on the day on set. So you've got window washer poles in place of robots, and sometimes a window washer pole is in the wrong spot, so no matter what, we have to paint it out and put the robot in the right spot, get it lit, animate it, get it acting, have it cool, make it look right, match basically the lighting of the day with a little bit of movie style augmentation lighting that I spent a lot of time on. And so intermingled with real sets and pyro and stunts and all kinds of mayhem going on in the background, we put layers and layers of debris and light effects and smokes and fires and all the rest of it to help you believe that it all happened at the point that the camera rolled.
So this is obviously shot without a spaceship in there and without these two little guys. This one's all about character. It's all about the delivery of the lines of these two sidekicks. They're all bummed out because they've been dropped off and not supported by their comrades, and they end up stealing the spaceship here. It's kind of a funny moment. Fun characters again. They're just a lot of fun to deal with because they have so much character and attitude. Our characters are fun characters again, about to cause a lot of trouble on the mothership, including unplugging anything he can find.
Sentinel Prime slides down the building, real plate, but we got to put all the damage in the building. It's always backgrounds, foregrounds, subject. Transformations are still not easy. We have certain artists that do that really well, but it takes a long time. I was kind of bored with the robots always just fighting only, so I was always saying, okay, more spit, more slime, more oil, more antifreeze, something coming out. So we have all kinds of goo and junk coming out of them whenever possible. This is a pretty good shot breakdown. This shows all the different puzzle pieces that go into what started as a clean aerial of a view of the river in Chicago, and all the different elements that have to be layered. Digimat puts all the damage in on the background, on the buildings in each and every case. Then we'll put in like computer graphics version of the building in the foreground. So this is Rosie getting really close to Megatron. So we had a big blue thing for her to walk under, and this was early on in the production, and we could all, as the crew, see an amazing difference as the picture went on, and she got better and better and better. She did a great job.